Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is a product that was created by the California State University at Sacramento. It's a product called Flowgorithm, which is taking the phrase flowchart and algorithm and putting it together. So if you go to their website, www.flowgorithm.org, you can download a free copy of Flowgorithm. And what it basically is a tool that allows you to draw flowcharts, which were very popular about 50 years ago in designing computer programs. And they've lost, some of their popularity. But anyway, it's a tool that you can use to design a computer program, and then you can. It's a great tool. Let me just show you how this tool works. So I've already downloaded it, so I'll just type in Flowgorithm and kick off the app. And so basically, what I can do is I can design a program. So the program starts on the main line. Main line and ancillary lines will make sense later on in our course, and then eventually the program ends. So I can click on an arrow if I decide I want to add items to my flowchart for the program. So it might be good to let me just go through one of these examples. And so what we'll do is we'll create a program, computer program, that asks a user for their name. We'll ask them what their name is, and then whatever they type in, we will then respond to them by saying hello, whatever their name is. So we'll click on this arrow, meaning somewhere between the beginning and the end of the program, I want to insert stuff. So I'm going to have a place to store the name when they enter it. So in computer science, you have to tell the computer, create some storage that would allow the data to be stored in. So I'm going to declare some storage, and I'm going to be asking the person for their name. So maybe what I'll do is I'll call it first name. So the variable that's going to store the storage that they enter their name in, I'm calling it first name. Now, if you're familiar with Excel, when you open up an Excel spreadsheet, the entire sheet is filled with variables. In fact, the whole sheet is just variables, and each one has a unique name. You have columns and rows, so you have names like A3 and B6. So as soon as you open it up, tons and tons of variables, and they all have a unique name. In this case, we have to actually make up a name. So I'm going to call the variable first name, and I'm going to make it a string. So we could have variables be integers, which are numbers that do not have a decimal point, real numbers, which are numbers that do have a decimal point, like pi equals 3.14, blah, blah, blah. We could have strings, which is just a sequence of letters. And then we can also have Booleans, which are variables that are set to either true or false. We could also make an array, which is a collection of these types. All right, so I know I'm gonna type, the person's gonna enter their name, it's gonna be a string. So I'm gonna make it a string. Okay. So I just told the computer, create a piece of storage called first name in case I need it. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to output. I'm going to say to the person, now in Flowgorithm, you have to use double quotes. You can't use single quotes. I'm going to say, what is your name? So now I'm telling the user, I'm saying to the user, what is your name? Now I want them to enter something. And when they enter it, I want to store what they enter in the variable first name. Okay. So I'm going to look for input. And the input goes into a variable. So I'm going to say first name. Okay. Once that is done, what I'd like to do is output. I want to say whatever name they typed in. I want to say, now I'm going to put out 2 strings. I'm going to say hello, and I'm going to follow it by whatever is in the variable first name. So I'm going to do double quote, hello, space, because I don't want to run on sentence. And now to concatenate 2 strings together in Flowgorithm, they want you to use the ampersand. Most programming languages use a plus sign, but Flowgorithm wants you to use an ampersand because you know, a plus sign kind of implies you're adding 2 numbers together. So ampersand is a way of saying and without it looking like you're doing math. So they say ampersand, first name. Okay, so what we've done with this tool is we've designed a computer program, not in any particular language. We just drew it on a flow chart. So what would happen back in the 70s when flowcharts were popular, a group of people would get together, they draw a flow chart for a program, and then they'd go and code it up in a particular language. But with this tool, we can just run it. So if I run the program, let me put the program over here, you can see what's happening. It's asking me, what is your name? So I'll type in Bill, and I'll hit enter. And it says, hello, Bill. Right, and that was the idea of the program. Okay, so in this program, we learned a lot, actually. We learned that if you're going to take data and you need to store it somewhere so that you could use it later, like we're asking the person what is their name, they enter it, and then later on we said hello and we printed out their name, we would have to store that in a variable. So a variable is a storage location that has the ability to vary. There's another type of storage location called a constant. That's, you could put data in it, but it can't change. But a variable means you could put a name in here, and then later on you can change the name to something else if you want it. So it has the ability to vary. Okay. All right, so let's do, all right, so that's one program. We learned how to use a variable. That's good. So now, okay, so now our next program, I'm going to use the song Help by the Beatles. Maybe you've heard of the Beatles, maybe you've heard the song, maybe you haven't, but the song goes like this. I need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know I need someone. All right, so suppose we wanted to write a program. Where is it now? We wanted to write a program that prints out the lyrics to the beginning of the song Help by the Beatles. Okay, so one thing we could do is we can just keep creating output statements like this. We could say output. The first line of the song we have to put in quotes, help. Help, I need somebody. That's one line. What I do wrong. I didn't put a close quote at the end. All right. So if it comes out in green, that means it went well. Red means you got a problem. Okay. So the next line is, I'll do another output for the next line of the song. And I'll say, quotes, help, not just anybody, close quote. And then the next line is, double quote, help. No, I need someone. And then just to help. In quotes. Okay. All right. So I've written a program that prints out the first, I guess, 4 lines of the song Help by the Beatles. Okay, and I can run it. I'll run the program and it prints out the lyrics. Right. So there's the flow chart of the program, and here's the output. Okay. So now suppose it turns out that the name of the song is not Help, H-E-L-P, but the name of the song is Help exclamation point. And now you have to go back and change your code, and everywhere you put in help, you now have to say help exclamation point. All right, what we could do is we can click on each one of these and edit them. And I can put in an exclamation point and then hit OK, and hopefully I got that one right. But now it's a little bit error prone because I have to, with my eyes, I have to look for everywhere help appears, and I have to change it. What might have been a good idea for us to do was to originally write the song, but have the title of the song be put into a variable, just like the last example. So let's just do that and see what happens. So in order to do that, before we have any output, we have to declare a variable, and we'll call the variable song title. So we're telling the computer, create a piece of storage. I'm going to refer to it as song title in case I need its value later on. And then I'm going to assign it to the value. I'm going to assign the variable song title. Oh, I made it an integer. Hold on. I don't want that. We want to make song title a string. And then I want to assign song title to help. And then throughout my song, every time the song title appears in the lyrics, I'm going to use the variable for the song title, not the text. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say song title ampersand, I need somebody. And then I'm going to say for the next output line, say song title ampersand. It's a little repetitive, but it's good to see it because then it will be burned in your memory. Song title. All right, the next one, I'm going to say song title ampersand. And one of the students, when I did this live, one of the students asked, why do I keep putting this space here? And the reason for the space is because it would look like a run-on sentence. You want to have a space between the words. So that was a very good question. And then the last one, I'm just printing out the variable song title. Okay. So now, same program, it's just we've introduced a variable for the title of the song because we noticed that the title of the song is all over the place. All right, now still you don't think the song title is going to change, but if it ever does change, this makes it actually very convenient for us. So let me run this, make sure it still works. Okay, help, I need somebody, help, not just anybody, help, I need someone, help. All right, good, so that worked. So now if somebody came along and said, the name of the song is help exclamation point, and everywhere throughout the lyrics, help shows up, you need help with the exclamation point. The change is very simple for us to make and not error prone at all. All I have to do is change this assignment. I probably should have made this capital H, and then I can throw in an exclamation point. So now what I've done is I've set the variable to help exclamation point, and then that just repeats throughout the song. So that's it, one change, and I'm guaranteed it's correct everywhere. So I could just run it, and now it says help, exclamation point. I need somebody, help, exclamation point, not just any, right? So it's much safer to do it this way. It's a little bit more annoying when you're originally writing the code because you had to add this variable and you had to initialize it to a value, and then you had to do this ampersand thing all over the place. But once you get that right, you're in great shape. Now you can make changes to this. Okay. All right, so what's another thing we could do? All right. So suppose we wanted to file, let's do a new one. You want to save this one? No, I've already have these saved, so I'll post them on the website for the class. Okay. So here's a fresh Flowgorithm. So now suppose, now we're getting good at creating variables and asking the user, you know, what's your name or whatever, and storing what they type in. Now suppose we wanted to make a decision about what they typed in. So we're gonna write a little program snippet here that says, we're gonna write a little program snippet here that says, that asks the person, what is your email address and what is your password? And then if they typed in their password correctly, we're going to say, welcome, whoever you are. And if they typed it in incorrectly, we're going to say, you know, your password's wrong. Okay. So now that we're getting good at this, we're going to declare a variable. We can do this a little faster now. And the variable is going to be called email. And that's going to, again, be a string. And then we're going to have another variable for password. Declare a variable. We're going to call it password. And that's going to be a string also. Okay. Now we're going to ask the person, quotes, enter, email. Then we're going to get input from them. And we're going to, whatever they input, we're going to store it in the email variable. And then we're going to ask them for output, means we're talking to them. Enter, password. And we're going to, they're going to type something in, and we're going to store whatever they typed in into the variable for password. Okay. Will look good. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use one of these diamonds over here. So we click on this and we're going to say, we're going to pick on the if diamond of a flowchart. So in an if statement, we're going to put a statement that is either true or false. And if it's true, the code will run down the true side. And if it's false, the code will run down the false side. So we have to put in a statement in this diamond box that's either true or false. So the statement we're going to type in is the variable password equal to, and I'll explain that's double equal a little bit later. So let's say the password is capital SHU. Okay. So if that's true, then the code along this path runs. But if it's not true, then the code along this path runs and not the code on the true side. So on the true side, I'm going to click on this arrow and I'm going to output welcome. Double quotes. Welcome, space, ampersand, email. So I'm not going to say, welcome, what's your name? I don't know that name. I just know their email. We're keeping this simple. Okay, so if they type in their password correctly, meaning capital SHU, I'm going to say welcome, whoever they are. If they type anything else in, I'm going to say, quotes password not correct. Okay, I'm not going to say try again because our program ends whether they type their password in correctly or not. In the real world, if they typed it in incorrectly, we'd want to go back and say try again and then count up how many times they're trying. And if they fail a number of times, we close our account. But that's not what we're doing here. Okay, so in this case, we created a program that has two variables, email and password. We ask the user, enter your email. We collect whatever they type into the variable email. We ask them to enter their password. Whatever they type in, we collect it into the variable password. And now we have a Boolean statement, which means something that's either true or false. And if it's true, we say welcome, whoever their email is. And if they didn't type in SHU, we say your password's incorrect. And either way, the program ends. So let's run this. So it's asking me, enter email. So I'll say Mary at shu.edu. And password. I'll type in the password correctly this time and hit enter. And it says welcome Mary at shu.edu. It's basically saying welcome your email address. Okay. Now, if I was to run this again, and it asked me for my email address, I could say Jeff at shu.edu. Enter password. I'll type in some junk, hit enter, and it says your password is incorrect. So basically, we went down this program, and then it really depends on what you type into the password box. If you type SHU in capital letters, it says welcome, it accepts that as a valid password, and anything else it considers invalid. So, all right, so now, for example, what we're doing with this flowcharting exercise is we are designing kind of in our mind, but writing down pictorially what our program does. This is not written in a particular programming language, but one of the things that I think is great about this tool, Flowgorithm, is if you design a program, a computer program, and then you go to the tools menu and you go to the source code viewer, you can pick any one of these pretty famous, all the mostly famous programming languages, and say, what would this program look like if it was coded in that particular language? So Python's a pretty popular language these days. Well, let's just, for example, say in Java, this is what it would look like in Java. In Java, you'd have to import the Java util, everything in the Java util library, the math library. I don't know why we're not doing math. I don't know why I would want the math one. And then in Java, everything has to be a class. That's a rule for Java. And then you could scan input. You have to bring in the scanner. So different languages have different approaches to doing things. If we wanted to look at what this code would look like in Python, there's the entire program in Python. Okay. Now, Flowgorithm is a tool that you use to draw the flowchart. After the flowchart is finished and you've tested it like we just did, out of curiosity, you can see what would this program look like in another language. And then if you go up to, what is this? Copy to my clipboard. So I'm going to copy this code so I can paste it later. Okay. And then I'm going to go to, this is an online Python interpreter. So it's www.programiz.com/python-programming/online-compiler. And I put this on our class webpage, so you can find this. So what I can now do is I could actually take the Python code that was generated by Flowgorithm and paste it. So let me just go back, go over what I just did. So not that one, this one. We drew this flow chart of a program that asked somebody for their email and password using Flowgorithm, independent of any programming language. Tested it out, made sure it works, and then we said, out of curiosity, how would I write this code if I was using the programming language Python? So we just go to the tools and we export the code. And now we're over here in an interpreter that has no idea what Flowgorithm is, but does know what Python is. And we can run this code. And this code asks me for, so the code is on the left, and then what the user sees is on the right. So it's asking me for my email address. So I'll say mary@shu.edu. shu.edu, hit enter. Something's weird. Every time an ad updates, password SHU. Welcome, Mary. Okay, now if I run it again, it looks like every time they post these ads, and if you're in the middle of typing input, when a new ad comes up, it screws up your input, but that's a little annoying. So let's say I did Jeff, shu.edu, hit enter, and I type in junk. It says your password is incorrect. So this is the Python code running, whereas before we had the Flowgorithm flowchart running. Okay. All right, so that's what makes Flowgorithm a great tool, that you can, well, I think it's a great tool, that you can write your code, write your flowchart, and then out of like 20 different programming languages, you can see what the code would look like. Okay, so let's do, we have a little more time left. Let's do, all right, so wait, what did we learn here? So what's new is you can ask for, you can have more variables than just one. Actually, like in Excel, you could have an unlimited number of variables in your program. And we could ask the person 2 questions or 20 questions. And then we can make a decision, a true or false decision. If something is true, we do one set of code, and if something is false, we do another set of code. Okay. All right, so the new thing we really learned is this if statement, this diamond. That's really what's new. Okay, so if we say new, you want to trash this? Yes. All right, so now let's do, as an example, this is a topic called looping. So I'm covering a lot of topics that might take a few weeks in an introductory programming course, but you know, let's cover it anyway. So now, since we know how to use variables and we're writing code that prints out lyrics of songs, we're gonna write a program that prints out the lyrics to the song 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall. Now, hopefully everyone knows this song. It's a highly repetitious song where you just keep repeating the same lyrics over and over and over, with the number of bottles of beer changing and nothing else changing. So what we could do is we could say, we could type in the first line of the song, 99 bottles of beer. 99 bottles of beer. Take down less than the number of bottles of beer. 98 bottles. Okay, so that's the first line of the song. The next line of the song is exactly the same as the previous line of the song, but the number of beers drops by 1. Okay, so what we can do is we can copy this and paste it right after it. Paste. I should have, nope. Copy this and then paste it. Okay, now edit this one and change the number. So this will be 98 bottles of beer on the wall. 98 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass around. 97 bottles of beer on the wall. Okay, so I got the first 2 lines of the song running. Here's the problem. This is going to take about an hour to do, and it's highly error prone because I have to make sure I edit all the numbers correctly. Since this is highly repetitious, it might be a good idea for us to get rid of one of these. Make a variable. Since we're getting good at making variables, we'll call it bottles. Bottles, and it's now going to be an integer, so we get to use our first integer. The bottles don't have fractions in them, so we use an integer, and we'll initialize our variable to 99. I'm going to assign the variable bottles to the value 99. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take this lyric, and instead of, this is exactly like when we did Help, the song by the Beatles. I'm going to take out the 99 and I'm going to put the variable bottles, ampersand. So it's 99, the variable 99, the variable bottles, which currently equals 99. So it'll say 99, then concatenated with bottles of beer on the wall. Now I have to say, quote, ampersand, bottles, ampersand, double quote. So just reading this, it's variable bottles, which has the value 99, bottles of beer on the wall, comma, whatever the value of bottles is, ampersand against bottles of beer, take one down, pass it around. I have to now close out this string, say ampersand, bottles minus 1. So whatever the value of bottles is, whatever minus 1 of that is, that's going to get printed out here. And then I'm going to say ampersand again. So if there's all these ampersands and the close quotes and open quotes, if it's a little confusing, that's fine. What I'm trying to do is take the value of bottles and insert it into the lyrics so that whatever the value is, the lyrics will come out right. So I'm hoping I didn't make any mistakes. Let's see. Let me just run this. Nope, I have an error. What's the error? Bottles. Ampersand, bottles, ampersand. Okay, so let's just see. Okay, so the mistake is I put a star instead of an ampersand over here. So, okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, great. So it printed out the first line of the song. 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around, 98 bottles of beer on the wall. Okay, good. So now, kind of like what we did with Help, we could avoid the error proneness of getting the numbers wrong by simply taking the value of bottles and make it equal bottles minus 1. So if bottles was 99, it now becomes 98. Okay, now take this line, copy and paste it right after it. Paste, paste. All right. So now if I run the program, it prints out 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer, take them down, pass it around, 98 bottles of beer on the wall. Then the next line is 98 bottles of beer on the wall, 98 bottles of beer, take one down, pass around, 97 bottles of beer on the wall. All right. So what's good about this approach is this block is going to be, this output statement is going to be exactly the same over and over and over. If I got it right the first time, it's going to be right every time. And all I have to keep doing is bottles equals bottle minus 1 and print it. So it's going to be a little tedious to do a cut and paste and do this 100 times. And really what I'm doing over and over and over is these two lines of code. The one where I subtract 1 from bottles, and the other one where I print out the lyrics to the song based on the value of the variable bottles. So if I know I'm going to do this 100 times, wouldn't it be good if I could just say, do these two lines of code 100 times? That would be great. So here's how we do it. We click on this arrow and we're going to cover this topic called a while statement. So let me build this first and then describe what's happening. A while statement is very, very, very similar to an if statement. The if statement we covered just before, right? We said if the password is SHU, then we say hello. If the password is not SHU, we say your password's wrong. So an if statement, something is either going to be true or false. If it's true, we do one thing. If it's false, we do the other. A while statement is very, very similar. Inside of a while statement, just like an if statement, is going to be a statement that's either true or false. And the statement I'm going to put in here is if bottles is greater than 1. Okay. So now, okay, so now if this statement is true, then what we'll do is we will take this. No, we'll take bottles minus 1, put that here, and then we'll take this lyric, copy it, and put it here, and get rid of these. Okay. So now, okay, so now what we're doing is we're saying, as long as the number, so we're testing true or false, is the number of bottles greater than 1? If true, kind of like an if statement, we go to this path. We subtract, no, wait, hold on, put this in the wrong spot. It should be after here. All right, I'm going to print out the first line of the song based on the value of bottles. But if this was an if statement, the program would end. It's a while statement, which is really like an if statement. If this is true, we run through this code, and then instead of going to the end of the program, we go back up to the if statement, and we ask ourselves, is the if statement still true? And if it's true again, we run the code yet again. So, so what this program is going to do, it's going to say 99. So we set the number of bottles to 99, and we print 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer, take one down, pass around, 98 bottles of beer on the wall. Then we make the number of bottles 98. And then we go back up here and we say, is the number of bottles still greater than 1? Is it still true? And if it's true, we run it again. So really all a while statement is an if statement, but in the case the if statement is true, after you run the code that runs when it's true, you go and you check the if statement yet again. And as long as it stays true, the code keeps running over and over and over. So if I run this code, it's now printing out the lyrics of the song. Let's give it a little time. 19, 18, 20, back down to 0. Okay. So then it goes 2 bottles of beer on the wall, 2 bottles of beer, take one down, pass it around, 1 bottles. Oh, see, the grammar's a little wrong. All right, so there's a little bit of a cleanup, right? Because it's not 1 bottles with an S. So we really should clean this up a little bit. I'm not going to go into that because really the point of this program is the while statement. So in other words, there's a task I want to do many, many times. And not just one time. I want to do many, many times. And then eventually I want it to stop. Otherwise, my program goes into what they call an infinite loop. And that's a problem. So you have to make sure eventually this if statement, which is really a while statement, we have to make sure that this will eventually become false. Has to eventually become false. So eventually when the number of bottles hits 1, it stopped. So once again, if we wanted to say to ourselves, what does this look like in Python? It is 4 lines of code in Python. Like I say, the last 2 lines of the song we'd have to clean up when there's one bottle left. You say 1 bottle of beer on the wall, 1 bottle of beer, take one down, pass it around, no more bottles of beer on the wall. And then the very last line is no bottles of beer on the wall, no bottles of beer. Go to the store, buy some more, 99 bottles of beer on the wall, and then the whole song starts over. So we would need to add in 2 more lines and I'll do that on the code that I post on the website, but I don't want to take the time here. So now if I wanted to cut this Python code into a browser, I can do that. And then I can put it in my Python interpreter, hit paste, and I can run this. So this is a program that prints almost all the lyrics except the last 2 lines of 99 bottles of beer on the wall, and I can run it. And it's just printing the lyrics of the song. Okay, so yeah, so if you get a chance, the Flowgorithm is free to download. So I would suggest downloading it and playing around with. Go through these exercises, hit pause on this video, and make sure you get it right. And so we covered a lot of topics. We covered variables. Variables can have values that are either strings like names or numbers or Boolean expressions. We covered flowcharting. We covered having multiple variables. We covered if statements. And we actually covered one of the several popular ways of doing looping, which is where you keep repeatedly doing the same thing over and over a fixed number of times. And okay, so